When I made this video, don't plug ventilation holes and safe operating temperature and humidity, there is something that I didn't think about back then. Even though the safe operating temperature is like 5 to 35 degrees centigrade, as you can see, the outside temperature is 30. Ignore this is just the vent temperature of the laptop. But yeah, so outside temperature is 30 degrees, and if I just check the relative humidity, it says up to 95% at 23 degrees centigrade. Okay, so I might just look at 95 and go, relative humidity is just 92%. I live in a region where there is a lot of humidity, and the main reason coolers don't work here but AC does. So yeah, it says 92%. It still looks like it's under 95%, unless you realize that's not how relative humidity works. Okay, so what was the specification? At 23 degrees it should be 95% humidity. At 23 degrees it should be 95% humidity. If we scale that, okay, if we scale that and we check it for different temperatures, let's say the temperature goes up to 38 degrees, then the relative humidity can only be 40%. And right now the current temperature is, let's say, 30 degrees, so my relative humidity should actually be only 60 to 65%. 65%, I would say. Okay, it shouldn't be 92%, and maybe that's the reason that the laptop died. It might nothing, or maybe, okay, there might be two things that might be a contributing factor. The main one would be, I think, the removal of the vents from the side. I think that is one of the big thing, because since they removed the vent from the side, if these smaller vents, the vents at the back of the new LOQ, if they get clogged up, okay, you have less area to take the air, to push the air out from. Earlier, in the olden model, that the fan used to dissipate everywhere. Okay, so maybe for economical reason that, or for designing aesthetic purposes, that changed that. But in doing so, they have reduced the area of the vents, to only about this much. Okay, as you can see, only these little and a bit from here and there, but that's the main thing. Okay, that kind of approach might work in a non-humid, a place where there is not as much heat or dust, but in India the weather conditions are extreme, and it goes from one way to the other in many places, since we live near the equator. And the reason I bring this out is my old HP laptop that also died due to having extra humidity. Mainly, that was the main reason. Okay, now I don't know what the solution would be. Maybe a cooler helps, but a cooler without a dust filter will only accumulate more dust in it. Okay, so as I always say, your AC is your best cooler. Just putting this laptop in a properly air conditioned room, even if the temperatures are set 30 degrees, they will reduce the relative humidity inside your room by a lot. That's why, in a humid region like the place I live, where there is a lot of rain, AC works, but cooler doesn't. Cooler only makes things worse here. Okay, AC works, cooler doesn't work at this place in Delhi, where there is very little, not this relative humidity all around the world. Even without an AC, a cooler that works, and it's quite common to have coolers in many places. The desert cooler I'm talking about, the cooler that throw a little bit of water with them, because the humidity is less there. At our places, it might not work. So it might, even if you set the temperature of your AC to be the same as the outside temperatures, due to the lack of the due to the reduced humidity, uh, it is a lot better. As you can see, it says 29 degrees, and as you can see, it says 82% dangerously humid. It's too humid. Okay, excessive heats, because this is not really that much heat, but combined with the fact that it's humid this much, as you can see, it's so much humid. It has already rained, but combined with the fact that it's like 90% humid. Okay, that's it makes electronics very difficult to work with. It doesn't matter if it's a laptop or not. Okay, so for us people, if you have something that I have been looking into is a dehumidifier. I don't know how successful is that. An AC works in better ways. Yeah, it also cools the room, but I haven't looked into just a dehumidifier, how it works. I will look into that and maybe let you know later if it actually works. But yeah, either a dehumidifier or an AC right now. Cooler I will not suggest unless you can also find uh, a cooler with removable dust filter, so that it doesn't actually push more dust into your laptop. Okay, or either get an AC, put this laptop inside those conditions, whatever electronics you're using in those conditions, or these laptop companies should start taking into account the weather conditions of the laptops they are selling it, the places they are selling it. This has been a very quite common thing. What happened was, with electric cars, electric scooters actually, the many China companies from China just embarked into India without taking the extreme weather into account. Okay, they had the normal battery chargers, and what happened that many of the batteries just simply died. Okay, and then a few companies started researching and made a battery and things that last a bit longer, they survive in more harsh conditions, and then that started to work. And similar thing needs to be done with laptop also. You can't just sit in another country, like let's say China or Taiwan or China or Japan or some other place, and just check everything at the room temperature. Okay, so as you see, you can't just take these temperature into account. Oh, you know what, it's operating at fine at 35 degrees, and at these relative humidity. You can't do that unless you are selling it at a place that has that. Okay, you are going to test it in a controlled environment, and you are selling that laptop into a in an extreme weather. It's not really extreme. Half of the world is like that now, but compared to your test environment, this is better. And I think that disconnect from what's going on in their labs and what's going out in the real world, I think that disconnect is the reason, not just for Lenovo, for other laptops also, which when they come into India and they suddenly realize that the failure rates are high. I think that's one of the reasons. Okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to say.